Man, hey, so in light of this Diddy stuff that was going on, man, Dr. Umar Johnson, y'all know we've done Dr. Umar Johnson stuff before. Now, certain things that I'm not for, that Umar Johnson says,
Many things I don't agree with.
but on this clip,
Many.
I think he kind of hit it on the head when it comes to the diddler. That's what they're saying. The
But
diddler.
I can say I agree with some of the things. So let's hear it.
Yeah. So let's play this. We're gonna. I thought this was kind of hitting on money. Tell me what y'all think too.
Why do they call him the diddler?
I'm not gonna say, but some of the things he hit on the money. I'm not gonna do the whole interview, but we're gonna just go on the points before he starts going extra pro-black. The white man, brother.
When you engaged in the longest,
How you feel about Diddy being indicted?
Sean Puffy Combs indictment. You know, I had made a comment on my social media earlier today because I was a little disappointed in the fact that so many of our people misinterpreted my comments about Sean Puffy Combs as being indicative of my desire to see him evade accountability for any crimes that he may have committed. So to clarify that, this is where I stand on the Sean Puffy Combs indictment. If Sean Puffy Combs is guilty on any of the 3 counts of that federal indictment, if he's guilty of sexually trafficking people against their will, if he's guilty of participating in arson and bribery and kidnapping and all of these things that they're accusing him of, if they can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he engaged in these things, then like anyone else, if you do the crime, you should do the time. But when I look at those indictments, first of all, when I look at the racketeering count of the indictment, and of course, I'm not an attorney, but when I look at racketeer influence corrupt organization, I'm saying to myself, Sean Combs, from what I understand, because I don't know the man personally, he did not build Bad Boy on criminal money. Bad Boy was built legitimately through the legal channels of the music industry.
That's true.
He might have engaged in crime using Bad Boy property after he built Bad Boy. But did he use criminal funding in crime to create Bad Boy? I don't think he did.
Right,
now,
I can
maybe
say that
RICO
too.
extends to you simply engaging in crime on company time. Now, if they're saying he sexually trafficked women on company time and that constitutes RICO, then he might be guilty. But everybody who knows Puff knows that he came into the music industry the right way, he hustled the right way, and he built his empire the right way. It appears that all the freak-offs in the alleged sexual trafficking, the alleged interstate prosecution, that may have come after the fact. So the question becomes, can he still be convicted of RICO charge if he simply engaged in sexual activities that did not directly have to do with the business, but he did it on company time, he did it in company property? So that would be a clarifying issue that I would like to see explained. So that's one piece. Now, when I look at the sexual trafficking, again, he could be innocent, he could be guilty.
Yeah.
But when I look at a Sean Puffy Combs being a mogul, being as popular who he is, as he is, I don't see why he would need to kidnap people and sexually traffic them across state lines and then force them to engage in sexual behavior. I really can't see that.
Right.
Again, I'm not saying
Right.
he's innocent. I'm not saying he's
Questionable.
guilty.
Yeah.
I'm
True.
simply saying, as thirsty as people can be, men and women, for fame,
Yeah.
for attention, I don't think Sean Puffy Combs has to force anybody, okay, into sexual trafficking. I don't see him needing to sell people against their will across state lines to engage in sex. I don't see it. I do not believe he's guilty of sex trafficking, but I could be wrong because I don't know what the evidence is. So the racketeering piece, I'm a little uncertain of. The sex trafficking piece, On the surface, I don't believe he's guilty of that because I don't think he needs to forcibly sell anybody or traffic anyone. Now, the third count of the federal indictment is where I think they might can get him.
Yeah.
Interstate prostitution.
Yeah.
Did Sean Puffy Combs influence people, pay people, bribe people to come across state lines and engage in sexual activity? He may very well be guilty of that. So then the question becomes, for me, what is the maximum he can get?
Right.
Fed time for engaging in interstate
For prostitution. Yeah.
And interestingly, when you look at the federal definition of prostitution, it does not require an exchange of money. It could be a promise. It could be a material benefit. And you know, Puffy, he kind of flashy. All the hip hop guys who got money, they pretty flashy. So he might say, hey, if you do this, I'll give you this. Or what if he just gave them rewards for complying with his request? In other words, there was no upfront business arrangement for sex. There was no upfront business arrangements for sex. Hypothetically, he brings them into New York. He brings them into LA. He brings them into Miami. They do what they do. And as a means of him of flexing his power and his money, I'm gonna buy you this car. I'm gonna take care of your bills. She wasn't expecting nothing but time with Puff. She wasn't expecting nothing but participation in the freak off. But because she was rewarded for her participation in the freak off, does that meet the federal definition of prostitution? It's the same thing with my RICO charge question. I don't believe he built his music empire illegally.
Right.
But if he engaged in illegal activity, non-related to the music empire, but he used music empire property to do it, does that also meet the federal definition of a RICO charge? And me personally, Art, I believe the reason they went RICO and the reason they went Fed is they want to completely destroy Sean Puffy Combs publicly and financially.
Yeah.
Because this could have
I
very
could believe that
easily
too.
been state charges.
Yeah.
The feds don't come in quickly to take up cases.
Yeah.
They came in and took this up. And as you know, the feds have a 97% conviction rate.
Yes.
So I'm looking at this and I'm saying somebody wants Sean Puffy Combs completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I know who it is.
Yeah.
I
Tell 'em.
believe it is Diego.
Yeah.
I believe it is the British-based liquor company that Puffy was doing business with.
Yep.
They're one of the biggest liquor companies in the world. They market and sell some of the most popular brands of liquor, including Ciroc. And Diddy had an agreement with them where they would help him market his De Leon tequila brand. And Diddy took issue with Diego because they had described the De Leon tequila liquor, Puffy's brand, they described it to their customer base as if it was an inner city, urban, quote unquote,
Street liquor.
ghetto, hip hop
you don't want
type of
that.
liquor. And Puffy took issue with that because he said, I'm a global.
I can see where that could become definitely an issue, because if you're a global
Brand.
global brand anyway, and now you've tailored Alexa off, and now you've tailored it to only represent the hood, no other cultures, then cultures are really going to be really cautious on buying that, because how it's branded, and it's a turnoff. You're not going to have these white businessmen in a meeting saying, "Now we're not going." That's like we about to go get Colt 45s or Crazy Horse. You know what I'm saying? We want
Right.
something that's upscale and classy. So I can kind of get from the standpoint of that portion.
Icon. I'm a hip hop mogul. Don't limit my product just to black people. And by doing that, you're dissuading white people and non-blacks from buying my liquor. You're cutting my sales low. And I think you're doing it on purpose because you don't want De Leon tequila to outsell all your other European controlled brands. So Puffy accused Diego of racial discrimination in advertising and marketing. Diego got upset with Puff British-based company. They said you done already made $1 billion off of us.
That's where he.
How dare you sue
not
us
gonna win.
and try to make a
You
few
weren't gonna win at
more
that point.
billion off of us.
Yeah.
So they tried to get the case thrown out. But the judge allowed the case to proceed because Diego claimed that there was a clause in their contract with Puff that did not allow him to ever take them to court. Any grievances, according to the contract, Diego alleges needed to be solved outside of court.
Oh, wow.
But the judge sided with Puff and allowed the lawsuit to go forward. So Diego is losing black money because of this racial discrimination piece. Other companies don't want to do business with them because they don't want to be branded as anti-black, even if they are, because everybody knows we disproportionately spend more money on liquor than any other group. So Diego is losing money. Then on top of that, Puff then already made $1 billion off of them.
See,
and
that's
now
what-
Puff is suing them for a few more billions. So what do they do?
Ugly.
They decide to settle out of court. Now check this out. Diego and Puff settled out of court in January
Listen to this, y'all.
2024. Puffy's homes are raided in March.
Wow.
There's no
No
way you're
coincidences.
going to convince me
Coincidence, not a
that a company that powerful, Diego operates in 180 of 194 countries in the world.
Wow.
They operate in 180 out of 194 countries in the world. You are not going to convince me that 1 + 1 does not equal 2. There is no way they were forced to settle with Puffy in January, and less than 2 months later, his homes are raided. And I'm going to tell you how I believe Puffy gave them the ammunition to go after him, Art. When Cassie made her accusations against Puff, he settled in about 24 hours. And they settled in November of 2023. Mind you, he's already in court with Diego since the spring of 2023. Watch this timeline. He sues Diego in the spring. Cassie comes out in the fall. He settles with Cassie in 24 hours. Diego is watching this. So when Diego decides to settle with Puff outside of court, they did this knowing full well we about to go after you and destroy you.
Yeah.
You are messing with the Illuminati. You have no idea who you effing with, Sean Combs. And
if it was Illuminati, you know, because we know these organizations really do exist, then that would make a lot of sense because the power that be behind it and the powers, the names that he's going to name would kind of make sense. It's not really just a rumor, you know, because that's how they move. They move at a high level. You can't to be in those kind of organizations. You have to be very top tier financially. Right. And so they top tier, talk to other top tier, you know, and you can get things to move. And this isn't far fetched, the story. Right. This man didn't need high level deliverance. He needs Jesus. Oh, yes. And he needs to be delivered from whatever that sexual sin is that entered him as a young man. But this seems like this was he touched the wrong person.
Yeah, it could be very plausible.
I mean he messed with the wrong businesses.
Puff was so quick to settle with Cassie, that showed the whole world he was vulnerable. Mm-hmm. That showed the whole world he had skeletons in his closet. And do you know what I think Diego did after they settled with Puff? I bet you after they settled with Puff, they probably never even made it to the airplane. They picked up the phone and they called King Charles III.
High level.
And they said, "Dear monarch, we need you to dial in a favor for us to President Joe Biden."
Really?
Because this Sean Puffy Combs, this little out of New York City, he think he can go to war with the big boys and not pay the consequences. Sean Puffy Combs, that hip hop king out of New York, he think he can tell white people what to do. He think he gonna rob us for a couple $1 billion and get away with it. It's not going down. Dear King, please make that call on behalf of your citizens. That's what I believe happened. King Charles picked up the phone. He called Joe Biden or any number of U.S. citizens, any number of U.S. prosecutors. In less than 2 months after Puffy settled with Diego, his homes were raided. Now, here's the other thing, Art. The reason they did not arrest Puffy until recently, because they could have arrested him then, is they wanted to wait and save this for a time they needed to distract the black public away from something that they didn't need us getting involved in. The reason he got arrested now is because we're 6 weeks away from the presidential election, and black America was tearing Kamala Harris's up looking for presidential accountability.
Right.
They were all over Kamala Harris. She couldn't answer no questions. She didn't want to do no interviews. And so the power structure said, let's get him right now. We need something we can throw at black America. We know they're emotional. We know they care more about hip hop than anything else in their community. Okay, what can we throw black America to get them off of Kamala Harris's back? Let's throw him Puff. And if you notice, Art,
everything
ever
shifted.
since
Makes
Kamala
sense.
Everything shifted.
decided to seek the presidential nomination when Joe Biden stepped down, every conversation in black Twitter, black Facebook, black Instagram, black TikTok, black YouTube, everything has been about what? The presidential election.
Yeah.
Trump,
So
Kamala,
true.
Kamala, Trump.
Yep.
That's
Oh, my
all we've been
gosh.
talking about
Yep.
until they arrested Puff. Now go on black Twitter. Now go on black Instagram. Now go on black YouTube. Nobody's talking about Kamala too much no more.
Yep.
Everybody's worried about
it's
Puff.
dwindled.
That's exactly what they wanted to
I
do.
believe that.
Distract
That's-
black America
makes sense.
away from the presidential election by throwing them the Puffy lynching so we can get Kamala to the finish line.
Yep.
And guess what? The judges that refused to give Puffy bail, from my understanding, they're both Democrats. And you know what's so sad about that? Puffy is a very big Democratic Party contributor.
And this,
He's a very big
That eat they
Democratic
own.
Party supporter. And so the very party that Puff been giving millions to and millions of dollars worth of publicity and advertising is the very party that shut him down. This was a favor that was called in by the British people to the American government. He don't know his place no more. Sit his down. And keep on top of that, Art. Puffy started a black political party called, what was it called? Our Black Party, I think it was, in 2020, after he endorsed Joe Biden. Sean Puffy Combs said out of his own mouth that both political parties keep taking us for granted. They're not offering us anything for our vote. And I think another reason why he was raided, when he was raided, Art, was to keep his damn mouth shut so he did not offer his opinion on this presidential election. This whole thing
is deep.
was a takedown of the global white power structure with Diego, British-based company, at the top, and it was also necessary in order to get black America off of Kamala Harris's back. Now, let me say this to you, Art.
so I'm gonna stop it right there,
Okay,
man. That
yes.
was a lot. That
It
was.
was,
that
but I
that-
want to say this before I forget.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think a lot of this is plausible. However, it did seem like it happened right at that moment and very coincidental. However, those who are really awake and paying attention, and that is not falling for the okie doke on this presidential race and the new nominee, well, Kamala Harris being thrown in there, know what's going on. It's not stopping. And that's what I said. I just don't feel like that situation is going to impact the race. People are pretty much solid on, well, let me not say solid. Many people have already decided who they want to vote for. So I just don't feel like it's going to have a significant impact on people's decision or throwing them off of what's going on with the race. I just don't think this race is it's been blown up for so long.
Well, think about it. As long as you have eyes on it, more eyes go on it. More eyes are looking. Because it's so highlighted that other people gonna start looking at that wouldn't typically look at political stuff. Everybody's seeing it. So if you make a whole shift, everybody go on back. Let me go on back and see what's over here. Oh, Diddy. It makes a lot of sense
It
that
does.
this happened right before It happened right before the election.
I mean,
Because
I understand it.
How strong would the impact would have been if this happened November 15th, November 17th? How do you think I believe the impact would have been totally different because this is all the big build up.
I think people would have been
I still
just
don't think
as
we hit the big
devastated.
shebang yet.
I still feel like the people would have been just as devastated. Those who did not know about his true character. The people in the music industry and celebrities knew him, knew that about him, knew that he had these parties, knew, that he wasn't the nicest person, how he treated people wasn't nice, and also allegations about the Tupac and Biggie, situation he was alleged. However,
Keep going.
That's why I feel like the public, we just didn't know. But I still don't feel like it carries as much weight as he feels like it does. Maybe for non-thinkers. Maybe for people who, have not been paying attention to the election.
Me?
No, Umar.
Oh.
If maybe for the people who didn't have a side already selected, who have not been paying attention to the race all along, who just want to vote for somebody, who just want to vote for who somebody they thought was a black woman. Let's just keep it real. So let's not get sidetracked, but I just don't think it has an impact. And I heard one lady say on TikTok, no, this ain't got nothing to do with throwing people off for the race. What happened to P-diddy happened to him, and the race is still going on. And that's how I feel. Even though it does seem a little bit coincidental, I'm not negating that.
People, I'm going to say black people. I'm going to say this. I know y'all say I talk about race a lot, but black people like to be entertained.
You think all those men...
This took a lot of focus out of the politics, and it put it on something that was serious, but it's entertaining and black people gonna follow where the entertainment is.
Not all, and I don't agree. It's too many people that have been awakened based off the series of events that they've seen has happened to Donald Trump in the past 6 months. So that's why I say I just don't feel like that now.
But do you think we'll have to calm down a little bit more so people can build back up?
You think all these black people who've been supporting Trump and the new people that's supporting Trump?
You're not getting
no,
what I'm
I
saying.
am. I am. I'm here.
All the eyes that you need and additional people.
I hear that. But what I'm saying is I just don't feel like it's going to have an impact. Maybe for the people who are like I said, the non-thinkers that's just going with the flow anyway. Yes, they will be easily distracted. But us and other people who have been awakened for some time now and have been down for Trump and understand what's really been going on, they're not getting sidetracked. They seeing it. They may talk about it. They may put it on their YouTube content or whatever content they platform they're on, but it's not gonna sway them as to not keep paying attention as to what's going on. I just don't see that.
Okay.
Has it done for us? No.
Well, because we're in it to win it.
I'm just still saying though, we're thinkers. It's only two groups of people in the world: people who think and people who don't think. Ain't no in between. Either you a thinker or you a non-thinker. That's it.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. It is what it is. I believe that
he's making some plausible statements though.
But it's just quite funny that this took off right before the election. Almost a month, just a little over a month. All right, man. So 2024, be more.
Love you guys. Subscribe to the channel, share the video, turn on the bell, and we'll see you in the next video. Talk less.
All right.